Greetings duelists, and welcome to another video. So the last theme for Phantom Revengers got revealed, and this is a very interesting one. Without further ado, let's talk about Killer Toon. So Killer Toon is a synchro based archetype. It composes of 3 tuner monsters, 3 tuner synchros, we'll talk about that, 2 spell cards, and a trap card. So the gimmick behind Killer Toons is to synchro summon with tuners alongside other tuners. And they all have an interesting gimmick. The way the Killer Toon monsters work is very similar to how Shadow and Draco Tails work when they're fusion summon, well, they're fusion materials, but upon synchro materials. Killer Toon Mix pops a monster. Killer Toon Clip takes away a monster from your opponent's extra deck face down. And Killer Toon Reiko pops a Stellar Trap. Now, the new gimmick behind all these cards is that all these Killer Toon monsters can synchro summon using tuner monsters from your hand. And I already checked. Like, every tuner synchro monster that we have in the game until now, they all use non-tuners. So you're probably thinking, how are we synchro summoning with these Killer Toon monsters? Well, all the synchros require tuners, and they require at least 1 tuner, so you can use multiple tuners for that. Killer Toon Remix specifically needs Killer Toon Mix as a material. Killer Toon Red Seal specifically needs Reiko as a material. And Killer Toon Loudness Wars can use any tuner. So this is a little bit more generic. Killer Toon Remix, her effect is it gains 1500 attack while your opponent has a tuner on their field or graveyard. During your opponent's turn, quick effect, you can tribute this card, take 2 non-synchro tuner monsters from your graveyard, add one of them to your hand, and if you do, special summon the other one. Then immediately after its effect resolves, you can synchro summon 1 tuner. So basically, Killer Toon Remix is a synchro monster that is meant to spawn out another tuner synchro monster. This is pretty interesting because whatever you summon with Killer Toon Remix can be like any of these. Like, for example, so Killer Toon Remix can make Malong, it can make Magma, it can make the White Forest monsters, it can even bridge you to Centurions. As long as the synchro that you're making is a tuner, Remix can make it. And it's a quick effect. So as long as you have the appropriate materials on board, Remix just allows you to just quick synchro into another synchro. We'll talk more on the gimmick behind this and what does it mean for future synchro support. Let's go to Red Seal. Red Seal's effect is that it gains 300 attack for each tuner in the graveyards. Take note, this is both players' graveyards. The levels of monsters your opponent controls with 1700 or less original attack are increased by 1. That's very oddly specific. During the main phase, quick effect, you can banish 1 tuner from your graveyard, then target 1 face-up card your opponent controls, negate its effects until the end of this turn. So, Red Seal is kind of cool. Essentially, this is a pseudo Omni-Negate, as long as you just banish a tuner. And this thing has 3000 defense. That's pretty high defense for a Synchro 5. Take note, the materials for Red Seal are very specific. But yeah, just having and walking like Hot Red Dragon Archfiend esque effect on a Synchro 5 that is also a tuner is kind of cool. So this level, this effect is very funny. If your opponent's playing Raziel, they're not playing the game. That's kind of the first thing that I had in mind when I saw this card. But outside of that, it kind of makes it weird for your opponent if they're trying to, like, for example, playing the Killer to Mirror match. If you play against Yummy, this card is really, really good against that deck. Yeah, anything that is level specific, Red Seal just like floodgates that deck. This is very similar to Stygian Dirge and how that card works. Yeah, this also like handles Canine too, which is very, very popular right now. So right off the bat, we have two really good synchros with two different utilities. Let's go back to Remix real quick, and guess what? And we can talk about Red Seal in the same light. So you notice how these cards gain extra effects if your opponent has tuners? Yeah. So you see all these hand traps? Like Ash Blossom, for example. Yeah, these are tuners. So if your opponent has these on their graveyard, you're just punishing them. And you're just gaining extra attack to your monsters. And so all of a sudden, you probably have monsters that just have ridiculous attack. So I kind of want to talk about Eccentric Boy real quick. This is the first monster that introduced the gimmick of Synchro Summoning with the hand. And this card is also a tuner. Yeah. The funny, it's kind of ironic because the Synchro monster that you use with this card is kind of useless. So you can essentially say that Killer Tune power crept this card, but not only what that, but it made this card pretty much obsolete. Now, there are other tuner monsters that are really cool. Psychopompas is a really cool one. Axel Synchron is one that you can just use to special summon itself. Hoppier Squadron is basically a hand trap that allows you to synchro summon, and this is a tuner. So this plus Reiko can make the Red Seal. Just to give you an example. You have Broomy, which is like a really cool extender. You have Birds of Paradise, which is pretty much the strongest tuner monster that we have, like, in the game at the moment. And this card gains attack by extra tuners. So, like, imagine you and your opponent are just racking up on tuners. At least you are racking up on tuners because, you know, every Killer Tune monster is a tuner. Every Synchro monster is a tuner. So all of a sudden, this card can get to, like, ridiculous attack. Hand traps are pretty much made for Killer Tune. Like, it kind of obvious that they made this archetype thinking about these cards. Like, the Ghost Girl hand traps can just be used as synchro material. They also can be used against your opponent by just boosting your Killer Tunes. Corral Part is a really funny one because this one can only be used for warrior type synchros. Both Red Seal and Killer and Remix are warriors. But yeah. Now let's go back to the non-synchros real quick. So Killer Tune Mix and Killer Tune Reco can both add each other This, upon summon, can add a non-level 2 killer tune. This can add a non-level 3 killer tune. So all of a sudden, your engine is very... It's kind of consistent in the way that, like, both Reiko and Mix can get to each other, and they can both synchro into both of these. Because they both are exactly 5, and 2 plus 3 equals 5. Killer Tune Clip is an exception to the rule. This one does not make of these two specifically. It can make Red Seal alongside the Reiko. But the gimmick behind Killer Tune Clip, and something that makes it really cool, is that during your opponent's main phase, you can special summon this card from your hand and immediately synchro into Synchro Tuner. So this is basically like another version of Hopbeard Squadron, but it's specifically for tuner synchros. And this does have the effect to just clip away a card from your opponent's extra deck. If you have this alongside Reiko in your hand, you can pretty much on turn 0 just make Red Seal, pop a Speller Trap, banish from your opponent's extra deck, and immediately just have a hot red like effect to just negate your opponent and floodgate your opponent if they're playing like Ryziel or K9 or anything Exceed centric, which is kind of cool. Don't rely on turn 0 Red Seal that much because we only have this specific combination to do that, and Killer Tune Clip just specifically summons for synchro tuners. However, you can still use non-tuners. Like, I'll give an example. Let's say you have Magnamut in your hand alongside the Clip, right? Well, let's say you end up summoning Magnamut, right? You can use Clip to special summon itself, synchro alongside the Magnamut, and make Centurion Primera Primus. And all of a sudden, you have an interrupt and a way to your Centurion engine, as well as follow-up from Magnamut. Magnamut is already a staple in Centurion. So who's to say you don't just play this in the Centurion deck? Just play 3 copies of this. And not only can you use it alongside a Bestial, you can use it as with Atri to make Silvera, for example, or to make RCL, or to make Malong. And you're probably wondering, well, Atri is a tuner. How are you making these? Well, if we read Centurion Atri, Centurion Atri can be treated as a non-tuner. So all these tuner monsters that can be treated as non-tuners can just make virtually anything with the Clip. So yeah, like, if we're not talking Killer Tune, this card is pretty much a staple in Centurion. Stay tuned, you might see a Centurion deck report in the future involving this card. So Primera Primus is a good example. The White Forest Synchros are a good example. Malong is another good one. Gamajin, if you're playing Fables. Shooting Riser Dragon is a cool tune, like synchro tuner that can just synchro into another synchro. Same thing with Axel Synchron. You can do that with that as well. Cupid Pitch is a very interesting one because this one can search you 600 defense monsters. Don't add more Charmings with this, please. I just as funny as that sound. Don't do that. Geomathemic Magma is a really cool one as well. This one can like be very aggressive against your opponent. Yeah, so that's it for the main deck monsters. Let's talk about the spell and traps. So Juke Joint Killer Tune allows you to extra normal summon for a tuner in addition to your normal summoner set. This also gives Loudness War, we'll talk about him in a bit, more attack. If your opponent has a tuner on their field or graveyard, you can tribute one tuner and add to your hand or special summon a killer tune, or you're locked into summoning just tuners. This is a really cool card. Essentially, this is like a consistency card for killer tunes, but this also gives you extra normal summon for tuners. Like, again, this is just a really good card for like other synchro decks. Like, imagine you just playing like Centurion and you just normal summoning like Primera alongside like another normal summon, and the tuner lock is for the rest of the turn. So you can just play you can just synchro summon and just play your deck as you normally would, and then at the very end of your combo, just tribute your tuner, special summon one of these killer tunes, and all of a sudden you can go mix to add Reiko, and then synchro into Red Seal, or synchro into remix, and then remix just like tribute itself to just summon like whatever the materials you need for Red Seal or for other synchro tuners. Yeah, so this is a really cool high velocity card. Let's look at Killer Tune Synchro. So this also tuner locks you, but this is a hard lock because it is the turn you activate this card. You also can add a killer tune, and yeah, and immediately after this resolves, you can synchro summon for one tuner. So Rhoda for killer tunes, alongside the Juke Joint, you have like enough consistency to get to all your killer tune cards. Just take note, this one does hard lock you, so basically you're forcing yourself to just play with these killer tunes. Now let's talk about Loudness War. Loudness War is another killer tune, and this one is fairly generic. It does require just tuners. Other tuners you control cannot be destroyed by card effects. Also, your opponent cannot target them with card effects. Really good card. Like, again, if we go back to other tuner decks, like, I'm just gonna keep going back to and forth to Centurion, because like that is like one of the better decks that can utilize this gimmick. Just protecting your Primera, protecting like your other cards like that, those is already pretty cool. When your opponent activates a card effect, quick effect, you can banish a killer tune from your graveyard, apply its effect as the effect of the monster if it's used as a synchro material. So essentially, whenever your opponent activates something, you can banish Mix to pop a monster, you can banish Reiko to pop a Spirit Trap, you can banish the Clip to banish from your opponent's extra deck, and it is a quick effect. So yeah. Also, take note that it says other tuner monsters cannot be targeted or like blown up. So if you control two Loudness Wars, they both protect each other. And if you have the joint killer tune and your opponent has a tuner, they both become 3300, which is kind of big. Last card is Killer Tune Playlist. You can target a Killer Tune monster from your graveyard, apply one of these effects. either return it to your hand or apply its graveyard effect. So essentially, this is like my Loudness War. This essentially just becomes a monster pop, a spell trap pop, an extra deck rip, you name it. Pretty much everything that Killer Toons do as monsters, you can use it as this scrap card. But also, this also grabs it back to your hand. I don't like this card. This card is a little bit too slow for what you want to do with it. But it is kind of cool that you can just search it with the Killer Toon Synchro. Because this can search you other Killer Toon cards, not just monsters. So yeah, what's my final verdict behind this archetype? I like the concept. I do think it should not just be played as a pure deck. The first deck that comes to mind, like I'll keep saying it, is Centurion. White Forest is another deck that can also utilize this gimmick like better than other decks. Yeah, like maybe there is one other archetype that can utilize this gimmick a lot better. Like we have a lot of different tuners for a lot of different archetypes. Janzing is another archetype that comes into mind because the non-tuners do have cool synchro effects, and the best Janzing monster is a tuner, a synchro tuner rather, and this actually can search you for a lot of strong destruction in Janzing cards. So there is a world where you can just like play this as a hybrid with other synchro decks and just do really cool gimmicks with them. But until then, we're just looking at Killer Toons like as its own baseline. This wave of support is really cool. I don't think it's the best one from Phantom Revengers, but it is a promising one, to say the least. Alright, so that's it from me. I hope you found this informative to your liking and understanding. Yeah, Phantom Revengers is not looking like a bad set at all, but will it overcome Justice Hunters? I guess we'll see. Until then, keep practicing and keep dueling.